All right, good morning, everybody. So I just had a video call with people from System76, or one person, and we had talked a bit about. I mentioned that I'm working with people with cerebral palsy, so I wanted to tell them about like touch interface and how accessibility works with that. So we mentioned stuff like onboard the on-screen keyboard not being able to resize windows correctly, not or the shift key bugging out, all this other shit that goes on with it. X Wayland applications not displaying the on-screen keyboard. We've had issues with I don't know what else. Sorry, just coming off this conversation. Anyways, we talked a bit about like adding window manipulation buttons to the panel. Uh, Stuff like window decorations. Having a panel toggle for the on-screen keyboard, split panel in the um, you know, in the split panel and file manager application or category based application launcher with like icons instead of a list and stuff like that. So I think it was a pretty good discussion. We were able to talk about a lot, and I sent her a wish list of stuff that would be really nice for people that use a touch interface. Because people don't realize this, but if you have severe like cerebral palsy, it's sometimes difficult to use a physical keyboard, and it turns out that an on-screen keyboard is a bit more manageable for these people. So we talked a bit about like screen readers and magnification, which is going to be an effort all on its own, especially with privacy on Wayland, because Wayland doesn't like it when you have to take full control over the screen. And so implementing that's going to be a problem. But we talked uh we talked a bit about the installer, how we need like a touch base or a keyboard base installer. Stuff like controller support out of the box would be really nice. Stuff like anti-microx, because Microsoft makes a controller for people with cerebral palsy called the adaptive controller, and you can add additional buttons to it, and third parties make those as well. But one thing that's important about it is it helps with key bindings. So if you like need to write an application launcher or something, you can bind it to a key and it'll launch. It'll run that terminal command or whatever. So that's important to us. But I told her though that there was like a whole list of stuff we could add. But it all came down to she said some of this stuff is going to be implemented in the first release. She said on-screen keyboard stuff may take a while, but she's looking at second release before they move to like a yearly release schedule, and hopefully a lot of the stuff gets implemented or something like that. Oh yeah, we also talked a bit about like mouse keys, and mouse keys are important because I mean you don't have a mouse, so you need to like be able to manipulate a mouse without having a physical mouse to manipulate. So that's important. But she said she seemed to take all my stuff seriously. She wrote down a bunch of notes. She said she'd reach out once she has something more tangible to talk about. So that's cool. I mean, like, because GNOME has been such an issue for us. Like, it's just not usable for people that actually need a touch interface, which is really ironic, because GNOME people always say is very touch centric, but because they remove all these features, you actually end up with a less accessible uh, desktop, and some of the stuff you need for accessibility. And KDE, because it's more feature rich, has been our go to for a bit. So I'm hoping that Cosmic can implement some of the stuff that KDE's implemented, especially when it comes to their screen reader. And especially with display scaling, that's one reason why we need Wayland is because display scaling is such an issue on X11. You know, so this has been a pretty good discussion. I think obviously we'll be in their issue tracker and stuff, and she was excited to talk to somebody that was part of kind of a larger group of people with various disorders. Like we talk about accessibility all the time. So this is obviously a subject I'm very passionate about. It's not my job. Maybe someday it could be, but I doubt it. But anyways, yeah, it's pretty nice that they're willing to like actually video call with you and get your feedback on what you need implemented. So feel free in the comments, say what you need for Cosmic, and you can actually email their UX person, and she will probably answer. So I could probably link her email in the description because it's a public email. So we'll see, but that's a good thing that they're focusing so hard on accessibility right now, because that's something that we just haven't seen in the Linux space for such a long time, and the solutions right now are kind of primitive. So seeing a more advanced, in-depth look at accessibility as a whole and wanting to reach such a broad range of people means that Linux might be somewhat usable in the future for people that aren't just normies like us. So that's really cool. I really appreciate that, and we'll see what happens. All right, thanks.